A 2020 full-size SUV that's stickered for $71,000 new just sold at auction for $19,000. Same body-on-frame chassis, same powertrain, 5 years of depreciation doing what it does. Multiply that across 11 different full-size SUVs, and you've got a list of legitimately well-built 3-row machines sitting on used lots right now for under $25,000. Let's count them down. Number 10, Cadillac Escalade. Starting with the one that still turns heads in a parking lot. The Escalade rides on GM's K2XX truck platform, the same heavy-duty bones underneath the Tahoe and Yukon, so underneath the chrome and the 22-inch wheels, this is a legitimately rugged vehicle. Power comes from a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter V8 making 420 horsepower, and that engine just doesn't get tired. Compared to the third-generation Escalade that came before it, this K2XX version got a stiffer frame, a genuinely modernized interior with hand-cut leather, and noticeably better cabin soundproofing. And against unibody luxury rivals that struggle the moment you hook up a trailer, this thing tows 8,300 pounds without breaking a stride. If I'm being honest about the one thing to keep an ear on, it's a light cold start tick from the engine. Common across this whole engine family. Cheap to check, rarely the deal breaker people online make it sound like. Verdict. A vehicle that cost $80,000 new, body on frame durability included, now sitting under $25,000 used. Number 9, Dodge Durango. The Durango shares its platform with the Grand Cherokee, and the Pentastar V6 under the hood is widely considered the most reliable engine Stellantis has built in 25 years. Pair that with the ZF 8-speed automatic, the same transmission used across BMW, Audi, and Jaguar lineups, and you've got a unibody SUV that shifts like something twice its price. This third-generation unibody architecture is a completely different animal from the older truck-based Durangos. Better crash protection, tighter structure, none of the old bouncy feel. And the 2016 to 2019 trucks specifically caught this platform after Dodge swapped out the sluggish early 5-speed for that ZF 8-speed and added CarPlay and Android Auto standard. My honest take, this is the most resolved version of the Durango that exists. Verdict, RepairPal ranks it 3rd out of 14 full-size SUVs for reliability, and CarEdge data shows it holding value better than most of its segment, losing around 46% over 5 years. Number 8, Infiniti QX80. This is the Nissan Armada in a tuxedo. Same Y62 Patrol frame underneath, same 5.6-liter V8, but Infiniti added real wood trim, premium leather, and, unlike the base Armada, standard lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alert. Compared to the first-generation QX56, this version picked up updated transmission programming and more robust direct injection components, and the interior has aged better than I expected for a luxury SUV this old. The thing I'd point out to anyone shopping European luxury crossovers instead, those rely on complex unibody structures and air suspensions that get expensive fast. This is a commercial-grade truck chassis wearing a tuxedo, and it's built to absorb abuse those competitors aren't. Verdict, 8,500 pounds of standard towing capacity on a vehicle most shoppers never even cross-shop. Quick pause, if this list is actually helping you shop smarter, go ahead and hit subscribe. We break down stuff like this every single week. Number 7, Nissan Armada. The Armada gets marketed like a mainstream family SUV, but underneath it's running Nissan's Y62 Patrol architecture, the same platform that survives Middle Eastern desert conditions in commercial fleet use. Fully boxed side rails nearly 4 inches wide, a 5.6-liter V8 making 390 horsepower and 401 foot-pounds of torque. This generation marked a genuine leap over the older Titan-based Armada. About a 20% increase in torsional rigidity, which is the kind of number that actually matters when you're loading this thing down and towing. And here's my honest opinion on timing. The newest Armada generation ditched this naturally aspirated V8 for a twin-turbo V6. If long-term mechanical simplicity is the goal, I think this 2017 to 2020 version is actually the one to chase, not the newer one. Verdict, a 12.6% chance of crossing 250,000 miles on a vehicle that also tows 8,500 pounds. Number 6, Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator. These two are actually built on the exact same platform. Ford has redesigned the Expedition and Navigator together for 2 decades straight. In 2015, both trucks got a mid-cycle update that swapped out the old naturally aspirated V8 for the twin-turbo 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, and 2015 through 2017 represents the peak fully sorted version of that shared chassis. Proven, simple, and a full generation removed from the ground-up 2018 redesign that brought a fussier 10-speed transmission and a noticeably higher rate of first-year electronic glitches to both badges. On the Navigator side, that EcoBoost makes 460 foot-pounds of torque paired with the 6R80 6-speed, one of Ford's most dependable automatics, wrapped in a genuinely plush cabin that still undercuts its luxury competitors hard on price. The Expedition runs the same engine architecture, putting down 480 foot-pounds of torque and a towing capacity up to 9,200 pounds, all on a fully boxed steel frame that's been doing this job since 2007. Same engineering underneath 2 very different badges, and both landing comfortably under $25,000 at this age. Verdict: the Navigator pulls a 9.1 out of 10 durability rating from IC Cars, and the Expedition backs it up with a perfect 5-star NHTSA safety rating and a 13.1% shot at 250,000 miles. Number 5. Honda Pilot. If you want something that drives more like a car and less like a truck, the Pilot is the move. The 3.5-liter J-Series V6 uses a balanced 60-degree block and active motor mounts, so it runs smoother and quieter than most engines in this segment. This 3rd-generation Pilot is a real step up from the boxy 2nd gen. Honda swapped the old 5-speed for a 9-speed automatic and bumped output from 250 to 280 horsepower. And looking ahead, the 4th-gen Pilot moved to a more complex dual overhead cam engine that's heavier and pricier to maintain. My personal read is that the 2018 to 2020 trucks represent the last, most refined version of this simpler engine overhead cam V6, the version I'd actually want to own. Verdict: a 17.5% probability of lasting past 250,000 miles in the easiest to live with vehicle on this list. Number 4. GMC Yukon. The Yukon is the Tahoe's upscale cousin. Same K2XX bones, same towing muscle, same structural strength, just dressed up with more refined trim and a quieter cabin. CarEdge's long-term ownership data shows it actually costs less to maintain over a 10-year span than the average full-size SUV. This generation moved to GM's direct-injected EcoTech 3 engines, which deliver noticeably more torque and horsepower than the older 3rd-gen Yukon, while still being efficient on the highway. And compared to the newer 2021 and up redesign, I'd argue this version is the smarter buy. It skips the independent rear air suspension and the more complex electronic architecture that make the newer trucks considerably pricier to service once they're out of warranty. Verdict: a 14.6% probability of surpassing 250,000 miles with below average maintenance costs to get there. Number 3. Chevrolet Tahoe. These model years caught the Tahoe after GM ironed out the early kinks in the K2XX platform, so you're buying the mature, dialed-in version. Both the 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter V8 options use cast aluminum block construction and heavy-duty cooling built to handle towing and highway miles without breaking a sweat. Compared to the previous generation, this Tahoe has a notably stiffer high-strength steel chassis, much better cabin sound insulation, and modern safety tech like forward collision alert. And honestly, between this generation and the 2021 redesign, I'd take the 2016 to 2020 truck every time. You skip the first-year software and electrical growing pains of the newer model, and you still get a simple mechanical gear shifter instead of the dash-mounted push-button setup GM moved to. Verdict: a 17.7% chance of crossing 250,000 miles, more than double the industry average, and a 5-star NHTSA crash rating to go with it. Number 2. Toyota Sequoia. This is where the list stops being close. The Sequoia rides on a heavy-duty truck platform built for towing and abuse, powered by the naturally aspirated 5.7-liter V8 making 381 horsepower through a 6-speed automatic that just refuses to wear out. IC Cars calls it the longest-lasting SUV on the entire market. Full stop. This second-generation Sequoia rides on a much stronger, wider platform than the original, with independent rear suspension replacing the old solid rear axle and a timing chain instead of the earlier timing belt. And compared to the brand new third-gen Sequoia, I'd actually pick this older one. More cargo room, more legroom, it keeps the cool power retractable rear tailgate window the new model dropped, and you completely sidestep the expensive hybrid battery replacement that comes with the newer iForce Max hybrid system. Verdict: a potential lifespan of over 300,000 miles, a 36.4% probability of hitting 250,000 miles. Number 1. Lexus GX 460. And at the top, the vehicle that basically set the standard for what used SUV reliability even means. The GX 460 shares its chassis with the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, about as close to bulletproof as a production SUV gets. The naturally aspirated 4.6-liter V8 and Aisin 6-speed transmission combo sidesteps every heat stress and oil dilution issue that plagues smaller turbocharged engines. Compared to the older GX 470, this generation runs a real timing chain instead of a timing belt that needed replacing every 100,000 miles, and it comes standard with the kinetic dynamic suspension system, which noticeably flattens out the ride and improves off-road articulation. And against the newest GX 550 with its twin-turbo V6, I'll say it plainly, this naturally aspirated V8 dodges turbocharger wear entirely. If you're buying for long-term simplicity, this is the peak version of this SUV. Verdict: a 20.7% chance of lasting 250,000 miles or more, 2.4 times the average for its class. And that's all 11. Which one surprised you the most? Comment below and let us know. If you're not subscribed yet, take a second and hit that button. We post breakdowns like this every week.